Matthew chapter 13, verse 24 to 35. In today's reading, we have three parables: the parable of the weeds, the parable of the mustard seed, and the parable of the yeast in the dough. And if you remember, this is a series of 8 consecutive parables. They are kingdom now parables. Later in Matthew chapter 24, we're going to get 8 parables of the coming kingdom when Jesus returns, relating to the end of the age. And by parable, we're simply talking about a story with a hidden spiritual meaning. And there's a sense that parables are there to divide the hearers, to divide between those who hear and do nothing and those who hear and press in and engage. So I wonder how we will respond to these parables today. Firstly, the parable of the weeds. God's kingdom in the here and now is like a field. Good seeds are sown into that field, into the world. Bad seeds are sown into the field, into the world as well. And of course, this will become really obvious at some point in the future at harvest time. Now, Jesus explains this parable from verse 36, tomorrow's reading. So I'm not going to major on it in today's study. Tune in tomorrow. But other than to say, the parable here is in the public, but the deeper unpacking happens in the home, in the oikos, the ekos. That's where the depth takes place. And that's why it's so important not just to read the Bible or hear a sermon, but actually to unpack it with others in small group. So the mustard seed and the yeast. We often think about God's kingdom as a now, not yet kingdom. All the stuff of the kingdom, the peace, the justice, the health, the provision, are they in the here and now, or are they not yet to come? And it's quite tricky to work that out from Scripture, because Scripture says both, now and not yet. It's got to be both. It's not yet, it's a coming kingdom when Jesus returns, and it's a now kingdom as we have glimpses of the kingdom in the present, as we bring the kingdom, as we bring heaven to earth in the present. And these two parables really help us to understand that dynamic more. The kingdom of heaven now is like a mustard seed. It is small, dare I say unimpressive. Not everyone can see it, and yet it has within it the potential to grow into the biggest thing of all, a huge tree, something that everyone will see. And that really helps us to make sense of all the promises of God in the present. All of our little actions, all of our little choices to sow peace and justice and joy into our world. More and more of us doing more and more of that again and again is like a growing, expanding thing, and it's helping to usher in the coming kingdom, our eternal destiny, where these things like peace and joy and justice will be perfectly, eternally established. Likewise, the kingdom is like yeast, a little bit of yeast that works through the dough, something that grows and expands. So these things are small, and yet they are powerful. They are active, they are expansive. And that's very much how we can see our kingdom work today. We imagine what this coming kingdom is going to look like, that glorious day when heaven fully invades earth, and then we get on with living like it's in the here and now, in the present, living like yeast in the dough. The yeast of the gospel is in us, transforming us, but also we are that yeast, transforming the world. And we are the good seeds that are sown into the world. We'll read that in tomorrow's reading. The good seeds are the sons and the daughters of the kingdom that Jesus is sowing into the world. And so my question today is, how will that perspective shape how we live as we bring heaven to earth and advance his kingdom, his coming kingdom in the present? I pray you'll have a blessed day.